Okay. Hi, everyone. So I will be giving a talk on React 360, as said, which is a way for you to build interactive and creative um, web or virtual reality experiences on the web with React. I will be basically the bullet points of the talk is going to be what is WebVR for those who may not know what it is. A brief exploration into WebVR as far as the different frameworks and libraries that are used, as well as a history of ReactVR, which is what was the framework that was built before React 360, and then going over some basics of the framework. All right, so what is WebVR? It is an open specification. It is a JavaScript API that is used, I believe, on Google Chrome, Firefox, and everything. And you don't need to use any type of devices that are often used to actually engage and have the interactive experience that you would usually think you should have when you are working with virtual reality. Why learn WebVR? So for me, as a front-end developer, what's important is user experience. And so I'm always looking for ways to improve and enhance user experience as a front-end developer. And that's how I came across like ReactVR, and as well as like 3JS, OpenGL, WebGL, and everything like that. The more your user interacts with your applications, the more engagement that will follow suit, and that's always important. I kind of just said this, but some of the different libraries you can use is 3JS, WebGL. WebGL and 3JS is based on OpenGL, which is written in C++, which is a pretty fast language. There's also ReactVR, which I'll be going a little bit briefly over, and there's also Babylon.js. There's also A-Frame, which is a great way to get immersed into WebVR. It's pretty easy to get started with. So what happened to ReactVR? So ReactVR was what React 360 eventually became. What happened was that the team that was building and working on it, Oculus, they started working on their other APIs and everything, and so kind of lost track of it. And so now it's been renamed to React 360. And from what the documentation says, disclaimer, React 360's documentation isn't as comprehensive, and there's not too many resources out there, which is why I wanted to give a talk on it, because I wanted to kind of get people excited and interested in wanting to learn more, and then build and improve on it. Because I think that there's a lot of potential in the framework. So a deep dive into React 360. It's built on top of React Native. The code that I will be showing you, if you have any prior experience like React Native, you'll kind of actually understand it pretty fast, honestly, because it uses some of the same components like Vue, and the styling is pretty much the same and everything that you would use for React Native applications. So it's built on top of React Native, and so the syntax is actually pretty it's more familiar. It's easy for you to kind of catch on if you have experience with React, which I'm sure many of you probably are, since this is React conference. And it does rely a little bit on 3JS, so there's that bit of inspiration. What can you build with it? You can build games. You can, for instance, just off the fly, let's say you have a furniture store and you have a website and you want to basically provide the user or a potential customer, right, a way for them to kind of picture how a particular furniture that they're seeing on your website will look from different angles, and where they can kind of place it. And so that is the perk of WebVR. You get 3D panoramic views and everything, so that's pretty cool. You can create 360 tours. You can, for instance, build an app of the solar system or something. You know what I mean? like where you have like planets and you can just kind of explore like and drag and drop or something. I'm just creating these ideas on the fly. Like for hopefully for y'all to like get inspired to kind of like build it or something. Who knows? There's actually some like tutorials. I can't name it on. I think was a SitePoint or something. There are like certain like websites that have tutorials like on it that I was kind of like experimenting with, like as I was building like my side projects and learning like React 360 while I was writing this talk. Yeah, you can, like I said, build games or whatever. Like the possibilities are pretty endless. It's really all up to your imagination, which is the amazing thing about coding, right? Is that you can be creative. And I think many of us, as like we work, we often are stifled and we're kind of like restricted on like what we can like do. So side projects I feel like are really important to just like help just keep you like invigorated and like excited to like keep coding. Or I might just be talking about myself. So yeah, a little bit of motivation. Yeah, best use cases for React 360. You can, it's to build like, I guess like 2D or 3D UI elements. Nothing too hardcore. Honestly, if you wanted to build like a hardcore like a WebVR like application, then it's best to go to a resource or tool like 3JS, where they're more comprehensive with the information and with the resources and everything. React 360 is getting there. I don't know if they're working on it right now, but they should be. But yeah. Let me see. Yeah, like I said, it's not best if you're relying on complex effects like shaders or pre-processing. It's best if you just use like WebGL or 3JS. The learning curve, in my experience, with trying out like those it was definitely a learning curve, definitely. I actually tried to use like OpenGL. I wasn't thinking. I had no idea it was a whole different language, and I was like, and that's when the research commenced. But yeah, and like I have said, like it's a really solid introduction to WebVR for front-end or React developers. So yeah, let me see. What is React 360 made of? So it consists, there's two parts. There is the code that turns the React components into 3D elements to create that interactive user experience that we all want. Yeah, in your React app. And so when your React code creates new elements, it instructs the runtime. The runtime is the code, like in the second part that I was talking about, the code that turns the React components into 3D elements, that's the runtime. So yeah, how do we spin it up? It's pretty simple, just like how you would, I guess, like install and use like React Native or React or create React app. You would do npm install -g react -360 -CLI to install the CLI and everything to be able to use the commands in order to install and build up your application. Then you would do a 360 or React 360 init and then project name on React 360's documentation. They say hello world because that's what we all use. But I mean, you can use like whatever you want, of course. And then you would cd or change directory into that project, and then npm start, and it starts up the application. I actually have it up already, so let me show you. Yeah, so this was actually the ReactVR project. Oh yeah, it shows. Okay. Yeah, it's basically like a 3D view of Earth and the moon, and so this was like before I started like building with like React 360, I kind of wanted to like get like a hang or like an idea or understanding of like ReactVR. So yeah, like this was pretty cool to set up. You can like zoom in and out. I thought it was interesting. But all right, so yeah, this is my React 360 app. I call it What's Up because I didn't know what else to call it. And so I changed out the image because this is basically like what shows up when you start up the project, following the documentation and everything. I wanted to change like the colors because I wanted to make it look a little bit original, and I added like a cute quote so for everyone. And then I changed out the image. Yeah, the image is stretched out because it's not like a panoramic like image, but like as you can see, like you can kind of like you can understand like what you can like possibly build with it. Like you see how I can just like kind of like change around and everything, and like I can zoom like in and out or whatever. So yeah, let's go back to the slides. Okay. That's presenting good. Okay. All right. All right. How do you style it? So if you've used like React Native, then you'll actually like understand like how to style the app like pretty quickly. So you would use the view component. That's where like your like layout like lives and everything. And that's where you can like set the borders, background colors, text colors, font colors, and everything. They use CSS and JS. So that was actually like probably like one of the best things. And that's also a reason why like I've been advocating for people to like use like React 360 because not only can you build something cool, but it's also like the learning curve is really more simple than the other WebVR frameworks or libraries. Or it may be hard for you, who knows? uh, yeah. Yeah, so like other React 360 components would be the image component that's used to display the 2D images. I was gonna actually like give you guys like another idea of like what to build with it, but I'm not. I'm not. Um, um, Let me see. Entity allows for 3D asset rendering, um, and also a few other components such as a VR button. It's a utility class that detects CLI type actions. Um, the event handling is actually like pretty also familiar. The event handling that you would use for React 360 is basically like what you would use for, like React. So yeah. Um, and for more resources, I'm actually creating a GitHub repo where I'm collecting every single like resource like on it. So then people can like stay, I guess have resources like look at and everything that I didn't have. Actually, I found out on Twitter like the other day, there's actually someone that is releasing a course on React 360, which I wish they had put out when I was making this talk, but they didn't know me, so yeah. And so like that actually provide like a really from what I saw of like the previews and everything, like a really good like introduction to React 360. So I wanted to kind of like shout them out. So you should follow them on Twitter. So then you can, if you have a Twitter, you should get a Twitter. You know, oh man, let's talk. So yeah, you can stay updated on when they're getting released. I believe they're releasing it next week on Egghead. And so yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and everything so we can learn together. Also follow CodeEveryday.io if you want coding resources, mentorship, or interview prep. So yeah, that is my talk. I hope everyone enjoyed it.